Jeremy, again.
David, so
We're here.
Great to be here with you.
Oh
So great.
my gosh. This is going to go all over the place with the GIC and other places. So take a minute and tell everybody who you are, please.
So I'm Jeremy Schwartz, the global CIO at WisdomTree. I've been there almost 20 years now. So WisdomTree, global ETF sponsor across the US, Europe, the focus on equities, commodities, fixed income, really all assets, and now model portfolios.
How long have you been coming up here with our group?
It's been a number of years. I want to say 7 years, perhaps.
7? Wow. Holy cow.
Yes.
And WisdomTree is now, what's the total AUM at WisdomTree?
So WisdomTree,
Roughly.
plus or minus market move, around $110 billion.
110 billion.
Yeah.
And when you came up here the first time, 7 years ago, what was the size of WisdomTree?
It could have, well, you got to pick a year, but it could have been 50, 60. It's definitely been a number of good years, for sure.
This is a good fishing trip.
It's been a good number of years.
That's good. Couple quick questions. Your colleague, another Jeremy,
Yes.
made a lot of news.
Yes.
He called for several hundred basis points cuts immediately, or something like that.
Yes.
It was an exaggerated call. Made a lot of headlines. Very powerful statement from somebody who's got a lot of years.
Yes.
What's going on? What prompted it, and explain it
yeah.
to us.
And when people have called him out for panicking, and he came on Monday morning after the Nikkei had their 1987 flash crash, markets looked like they were going to open up down, but it was not a panic moment at all, actually. He got his PhD in monetary economics at MIT, studying under Paul Samuelson, Solow. He's been trained for this type of monetary position. Now, his view is that the appropriate policy is around 150 to 200 basis points below where they are, and more like 150. He thinks the neutral Fed funds rate is around 3.5% to 4%, somewhere, which is around 200 basis points below, 180 basis points below where we are today. And so what he sees in the economy is that the Fed is now past their neutral unemployment rate. So we got 4.3 unemployment. The Fed, in their statement of neutral, says unemployment should be 4.2. So we're past the unemployment target. And inflation is basically at target. It's 90% of the way down.
Okay.
And he doesn't want them to risk a recession. So he thinks we should be at neutral. And the Fed's process has been slow and deliberate. And he wants to shake it up a bit and say, no, you need to get to neutral quickly and not with delay.
So the corollary with that is if they don't get to neutral quickly, which is what seems to be coming.
Yes.
What do you expect?
Well,
or what does he expect?
It's not.
Yeah, I have to ask you to speak for him.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I've worked with him for 23 years.
I
So
know.
we talk weekly we have our own podcast, Behind the Markets. We talk weekly, so I get his updated take. And he's not saying they're going to have an immediate crash in the economy. He's saying there's elevated risks of recession, so it's maybe a 50-50 probability, but we don't need to be as restrictive as we are. So it creates more risk. So it's really about managing the risk that we could be at neutral. Inflation, in our view, we have our own measure of inflation, putting in more real-time housing. We just got the CPI. 90% of the headline increase was shelter. Yeah. Shelter is not as high as the BLS says. Yeah. And if you put in real-time numbers, we're at 1.7. We're well even at the inflation target.
So if we're at 1.7, we are at a real rate of over 3.
Yeah, we're overly restrictive.
Overly restrictive.
Overly restrictive.
All right, last question. You went fishing this morning. How'd you do?
We probably, this was one of our best mornings we've been there. We probably brought home 60 to 70 fish between the three of us. It was a big morning. A lot of perch in the hole. Every moment we put it down, bring it back up. Put it down, bring it back up.
And those perch will go in a chowder, which we'll eat on Saturday. Fresh perch chowder. So, Jeremy Schwartz, WisdomTree, back again in Maine. Look at the weather. You brought the weather like this.
So great to be here with you, David.
It's terrific.
This is so much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.